Hello, Shalom Aleichem, welcome. Here we have a very nice Chumash. It's part of a set of Chumashim. It's very nice. And let's take it here. It has a protection of like a film of protecting it. So let's take a look at it. It has Shemos from the Min Chamisha Chumshei Torah, Lemberg, Yoshev Seser Kisro Yeshua Shanas. It has a number on it. B'tfus Shel Hanagida Maras Pesel Balaban. The tfus is the printing of right over here. Shel Hanagida on the bottom, Nagida Maras Pesel Balaban, and over there Lemberg, Drok and Verlag. The Drok means it was printed, Verlag Pesel Balaban, 1865. Very nicely done, very nicely decorated. Anyway, here's the Shemos from the Chamisha Chumshei Torah, Im Targum Onkelos, with the explanation of Onkelos, Uperish Rashi, with the Targum Onkelos, the explanation of Onkelos, Uperish Rashi, the explanation of Rashi, Baal HaTurim, the Baal HaTurim it has, and Toldos Aharon. V'nosef lazem masora gadola v'katana. It's also another masora gadola v'katana. It's another parish menorah Shlomo, the menorah of Shlomo, the light of Shlomo ala masoret. Ala masoret, it's the tradition. And Gam Maskil David, also Maskil David, who Beor Nifla al Perish Rashi Zal. The Maskil David is a Beor Nifla. That's a very outstanding explanation. It expounds on Rashi. Zechron Levracha Me'es Harav HaGadol Morenu Rav David Pardo. The Rav HaGadol, the great Rav, David Pardos Atzal Ispaltoro Be Italia Bekehila Kedisha Ispaltero Be Italian. That's in Italia, in Italy. Gam Megillas Esther in Perish Rashi O Mispar Godel Mispar Cotton. Sefer Mitzvahs Gedolos and Sefer Mitzvahs Ketanos. The Megillas Esther is also with Rashi. V'yal Eila Hofia Ruach Kadsho Mimarom V'levush Oz His Hazer Af Tichon V'Hamed Shnei Emodei Avnei Shayish Tohor Perushim Nechmadim V'Yikorim Nechmadei V'Yikorim Kior Shivas Hayomim Me'irim Hainu Sefer Otzer HaChaim Al Taryag Mitzvos Yisodaso B'Havri Kodesh B'Ta'amei Hamalos. So also we have Beruach Kacho with his holy inspirations from Shemayim Yimarom, from the heavens, V'Levush Oz, his Ozar Af Tichon, he established V'Hamed Shnei Amudei Avnei Shayish. He did the two pillars of marble, Tahar Perushim B'Chamdei B'Yikorim. They're very beautiful explanations. Kior Shivas Hayomim, like the light Shivas Hayomim of the first 7 days. Ume'irim Hainu Sefer Otzer HaChaim. Ume'irim Hainu Sefer Otzer HaChaim. And this lights up also the Sefer It's like a light to us. The Sefer Otzar Chaim al Taryag Mitzvos. The Otzar Chaim on Taryag Mitzvos, on the 613 mitzvos. Yisodoso Bihari Kodesh. Its foundation is from the Har Sinai, from the holy mountain, from Har Sinai. B'Tamei HaMitzvos, the Tamei HaMitzvos, the explanations for the mitzvos, whatever we understand of the mitzvos, but we and not everything is understood. But anyway, Tamei HaMitzvos, the explanation, the reasons for the mitzvos, of what we understand of the V'Sodam Ulahodia Livnei Ha'adam, to teach Lahodia, to teach Livnei Ha'adam, to the people, Eichacha Teluya V'Ramuza Kol Mitzvah Ba'os Achas Mi'aseres HaDevarim. So to teach the people Eichacha Teluya, how it supports Ramuza, how it hints at Kol mitzvah, every mitzvah, Bi'osachas, in one letter, Bi'osachas, in one time, Mi'aseres HaDibros, Mi'aseres HaDibros, for the 10, from Levias Chain, B'Tiferes, Sefer Heichal HaBracha, the Sefer Heichal HaBracha, or by here, B'Shichokim U'Mifanei Ne'elamim Alachasaros V'Yitarim, and things that are missing. In other words, when sometimes it's a pasuk is written with less words or more words, V'al Dagesh V'Refa, different ways of the ta'amim, the way the Torah is pronounced by the Baal Koreh, Shenitzmasos B'Torah Kedosha Al Pi HaMasoros. The way the Torah is chanted, it's also Sinai, from Sinai. Gam Sefer Kesem Ophir Al Megillas Esther. Okir Enosh Mipi. So there's the Sefer Ophir on Megillas Esther. Yakol Alpi Toldos V'Negenizei Tzefunin. Everything is by secrets that were uncovered. V'Negenizei Tzefunin, and all different. The Geniza, that's the treasury of all the Kesuvim, all of the writings and everything. The Mimaron Eloki Ha'ari, from the great Kabbalist Ha'ari HaKadosh, Rabbeinu Ish Elokim HaBesht, and Rabbeinu, the man of Hashem, the Besht, the Baal Shem Tov Zal, Hechinam Gam Chakram Harav HaGaon, I'm the first of Nigle Venister Butsina Kadisha Chasida Parisha Bechain Shel Kiddushim Keshet Rabbi Yitzchak Yehuda Yechil Safron. There we are. Sefer Atzi Eden, Amase Oreg, Upnei Zakein, Al Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, on the 6 Sidrei Mishnah, the 6 Sidorim of the Mishnah, V'Heter Notzer Chemed Al Perkei Avos, Ben Harav Hagon HaKadosh HaTzadik, V'Forsim Rabbeinu Alexander Sender Zatzal Zechet Tzadik L'Vracha, of Bezdin the Kila Kedusha Kamarna Chelik Sheni Lemberg. Aharon Kabaran Harabonon Berkisvei Rab Shlomo Zalman Mikazori. So these are different perushim from this Chumash. And let's take a look. Let's take a look at the Parshas Mispatim. Take a look at Parshas Mispatim. Yisro was last week. There was a Parsha. The Parsha was last week. Let's see Mispatim. Okay, let's take a look. V'elehem Mispatim asher tosim lefneihem. And these are the Mispatim, the judgments that you should put in front of them, in front of the Bnei Yisrael. The Bnei Yisrael. ואלה נוטריקון, וחייב אדם לחקור הדין המשפטיים נוטריקן הדיין מצווה שיעשה פשורים צרם יעשה משפט. And ואלה נוטריקון, these וחייב אדם לחקור הדין, the person has to go into the din lachakor, to be involved in figuring out hadin hamishpatim of the judgments, notrikun hadayon mitzaveh, the dayon, the judge, is commanded sheyase peshara, he should make a peshara, is so Adayin mitzvah sheyaseh peshara. Adayin, the judge, mitzvah sheyaseh, he should make peshara, like where there's give and take, where one gives a little bit and the other gives a little bit, and there's sort of they get together in the middle. Tzarem yaseh mishpat, before they do the mishpat, before they do the judgment. Asher nutrikun, that you will im shnehem rotzim tosim nutrikun tisha shnehem yachad midabrim. Im shnehem, with the two of them, rotzim, it's that we want tosim nutrikun, they should put a nutrikun, that we should try to, we can learn out what this means, nutrikun. Yidros Hashem, Li Neder, Chumash, the two of them should listen. Yachad, Midivreihem, should both listen from the words. In other words, it's like sort of a give and take. In other words, one gives a little bit, and the other gives a little bit. Lefneihem. Nutrikin, lo penei nodiv yehadar. Nutrikun, lo penei nodiv yehadar. His naker mayhem shamach mishpatim lo ta'ale b'ma'ala mishpatim lo ta'ale b'ma'alos, nomar Have Mitsunim Badin, be very lo sala b'malos. It ends the last of the parsha lo sala b'malos. One shouldn't go up with the b'malos one steps by the mizbeach. Lomar have a misunim. We should be very diligent, but in the judgment, Kalomar lo ya'alu ela yelchu b'mason. They shouldn't go up, but they should go. You should walk b'mason, very diligently. In other words, think about everything, and ma'alos b'gematria mitunim, ma'alos b'gematria mitunim, v'samach mispatim. So ma'alos b'gematria is mitunim. Ma'alos steps, b'gematria, and the gematria is misunim, is the same numerical value as misunim. V'samach mispatim, v'samach mispatim, Elohei kesef. Mispatim is V'samach Mishpatim. The din of Mishpatim that we're learning here is placed next to the din of Elohei Kesef, the din of not worshiping other gods, God forbid. Lomar shalo yimaneh dayan b'shvil mamon. Elohei Kesef. It's there the din of Elohei Kesef. Lomar to teach us shalo yimaneh dayan b'shvil mamon. And Elohei Kesef could also be money. You shouldn't do everything for money, for silver. Lomar shalo yimaneh dayan ela b'shvil mamon. You shouldn't appoint a dayan b'shvil mamon for money. In other words, he'll give you some money or whatever it is. B'kesiv la'el, and it says la'el minei before this, ki charbecha heinafta oleha, because ki charbecha heinafta oleha, because your sword was carving it out. In other words, you shouldn't make mizbeach avanim lo sasa. You shouldn't make a mizbeach an altar of avanim of stone, because your sword was used to carve it out, because your sword was working it over, and it's something that Mizbeach for Hashem. We don't want any metal and kalei milchama, the different things having to do with war. We don't want that having to have touched it in the preparation of the Mizbeach. Shetzorech hadayin liraos ki'ilu cherev munachas lo. Shetzorech hadayin liraos, the dayan has to look out and see things, ki'ilu cherev munachas lo, as if he has a sword hanging over him. A sword is hanging over him. In other words, when you are a dayan and you're making a judgment, you have to look at it very seriously, as if one has a sword hanging over one's neck, God forbid. As if the sword is hanging over him. Al Yerecho. Besamach dinin li avoda shehem migimel shehaolam omed aleihem. Cherev manachas lo. Al Yerecho. Besamach dinin. And this din is the avoda. Besamach dinin the avoda, the din of avoda, of doing the avoda the Mizbeach and the Avodah, which is where the last Parshas it leaves off. Shehem amigimel sheha'olam omed aleim. This is from the Gimel, the three things sheha'olam omed aleim, three things that the world is standing on. V'samul chosa lemizbeach lomar kol ha'ma'amed dayan hagon ki'ilu bona mizbeach. Mispatim is there's Torah and Avodah and Gemilas Chasadim. The three things that the world is standing on is Torah, that's learning Torah, Avodah, doing service for Hashem, and also in this case it's Avodah can be the sacrifices that one brings before Hashem, Gemilas Chasadim, and doing good for other people, doing chesed to other people. Lemizbeach, v'samach chosa lemizbeach. Lomar kol ha'mamed dayan hagon, whoever. So this teaches us kol ha'mamed dayan hagon, whoever sets up and chooses and sets up in the Sanhedrin a dayan, a judge that is very does things 100% the right way, and he treats people very good. He treats people the way they should be treated. Dayan Hagon ki'ilu bana mizbeach, as if he built a mizbeach. Hafach mimi shema amid es she'eno Hagon. The opposite of somebody that hafach mimi shema amid es she'eno Hagon. Somebody that sets up somebody that is not Hogon, that is not fit. Whoever does that, it's as if he put an Asherah tree, which one is not allowed to put. One cannot have an Asherah tree next to the Mizbeach. Let's take a look at where the last Parsha ends off. It talks about the Mizbeach. Here, we're getting there. It says it here, we're talking about you shouldn't have cherev, you shouldn't have a cherev, meaning you shouldn't use a metal sword, the people, this is the last parsha of Yisro. The people stood merachok from afar. O Moshe nigash el ho'arafel. Moshe got close to the thick smoke where Hashem was. Asher sham Elokim, where the Hashem was, when he was giving the Aseres Adibros and to the Bnei Yisrael Maftir. Let's see. This is Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. Hashem said to Moshe, Kos Omar el Bnei Yisrael. So should you say. You should say to the Bnei Yisrael like this: Atem re'isem, you have seen. Atem re'isem, ki min hashamayim. One moment. Atem re'isem, ki min hashamayim dibarti aleichem. One moment, let's get to it. Atem re'isem. Ki min hashamayim dibarti imachem. You have seen. Atem re'isem, you have seen. Ki min hashamayim dibarti imachem. That from the heavens I have spoken imachem with you. Lo, as Hashem said, you have seen that I have spoken to you from min hashamayim, from the heavens. Lo sa'asun iti Elohei kesef, ve'Elohei zahov, lo sa'asu lachem. Lo sa'asun iti Elohei kesef, ve'Elohei zahov, lo sa'asu lachem. You should not put any gods of silver or gods of gold Lo sasu lochem. You should not make for yourselves. So you shouldn't make that, and also meaning you shouldn't have kesef ezav, silver and gold, as a very valuable thing for you. In other words, Hashem, what Hashem wants, that is what is important to us. Mizbach adamo ta'aseh li, v'zavachta olav es olo secho, v'es shalom echo, es tzoncha, v'es bikarecha, v'chol hamakom asher azkir es shemi, ovo elecha uverechticha. Mizbach adamo ta'aseh li. So Hashem says, you should make a mizbeach, an altar of adama, of earth, of adama, of the earth. Ta'aseli, you should make for me, meaning you should make for Hashem. V'zavachta olav es olos secha, v'es shalomecha. You should sacrifice on this mizbeach adama your olos secha, your olos. That's the different kinds of sacrifices. That's Olo Secha is it goes completely to Hashem. V'yesh Shlomecha, and your peace offerings. So that's another Shlomecha, a peace offering. As Tzoncha v'yesh Bikarecha, we should sacrifice you Tzoncha, the sheep, v'yesh Bikarecha, and the cattle. B'chol hamakom. Asher azkir es shemi, avo elecha uverechticha. In every place, asher azkir es shemi, where I cause my name to be mentioned, avo elecha, I will come to you uverechticha. I will go to you and I will bless you. Hashem says, when you go and you are in a good way, with good intentions, bringing a korban to Hashem, to Him, every place where He causes His name to be mentioned, where He gives us the cheshek, the idea to come and bring a sacrifice to Him. I will come to you, and Hashem says He will go to you and He will give you a bracha, a blessing. V'im mizbach avonim ta'aseh li. V'im mizbach avonim ta'aseh li. If you make so it's a possibility to make a mizbach avonim. V'im mizbach. If you make a mizbeach, an altar avonim of stones, ta'aseh li lo sivne esen gozis. If you make a mizbeach, an altar of stone, lo sivne esen gozis. You should not build it gozis with metal utensils. In other words, you shouldn't use a sword, let's say, or a hammer with iron, because that is a klei milchama. Those are weapons of war. And when we're making a mizbeach to Hashem, we don't use a weapon of war to fashion it. This is for shalom, for bracha. Then Hashem doesn't want mizbach avonim ta'aseh li. If you make a mizbeach, an altar of stone, lo sivne esen gozis. You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it with utensils. You shouldn't carve it. Gozis. The Rashi says gozis lashon geziza sheposilin umechattitin. In other words, you're cutting it with cutting and doing what you're sculpting with the metal tool. Ki charbecha heinafta aleho v'tichal aleho. Ki charbecha heinafta aleho v'tichal aleho. Because your sword, you went and you were hacking at it with your sword. Let's see what it says. You were using it, fashioning it with your sword, and you made it whole. It's not kodesh anymore. Ki charbecha hinafta aleha, hari ki ze mishamish b'lashon pen. When it says ki over here, hari ki ze, this, when it says ki over here, mishamish b'lashon pen. It's mishamish, it's ki, when it says ki, it can be in a few different ways. So, b'lashon pen. That's lest you do something. Shehu dilma pen tonif charbecha aleha. Because so, in other words, you should not. In other words, we should not use metal tools to work out the design of the altar. Batechal aleha. Holamadata she'im heinafta aleha barzel chilalta she'hamizbeach nivra liha'arich yamav shaladam. So we know. So we holamadata. So over here we learn she'im heinafta aleha, if you did use tools to carve it, aleha barzel, you use brass, chilalta, then you have made it profane. It's not holy anymore. It's for Hashem. Sham mizbeach nivra liharich yamav shaladam. The mizbeach, the altar, is nivra, was created liharich yamav shaladam, to extend the life of man. Via barzel nivra lekatzer yamav shaladam. Ben barzel and the brass and barzel, brass and bronze, nivra lekatzer yamav shaladam. That is usually created to shorten the lives of men. In other words, these are weapons that one can kill with, God forbid. The mizbeach is to lengthen the days of the man. Barzel, the tools of iron and bronze, are created to lekatzer yamav shaladam, to shorten the days of man. Ein ze badin sheyunef hamekatzer al hama'arech. Ein ze badin. It doesn't work out. It's not proper. It doesn't work out. It's not logical. And even if it's not logical, and it's not the way it should be. Sheyunef hamekatzer al hama'arech. That the object that shortens the lifespan of a person should be working on the altar that is designed to lengthen the days of the person. V'od hamizbeach matil shalom ben Yisrael la'avihem shebashamayim. The mizbeach, the altar, matil shalom, it makes peace descend between Yisrael la'avihem shebashamayim, between Yisrael and their Father in the heaven. Lefikach lo yovo olav kores umechabel. Kuras umechabel. V'hari devarim kal v'chomer. Uma avonim she'enam ro'os v'lo shama'os v'lo medabros al yidei shematilos shalom omrim Amra Torah lo sonif alehem barzel hamatil shalom bein adam leishto bein mishpacha lemishpacha bein adam lechaveru alachas kama v'kama shlo tuvuohu perennius. So we can make a kal v'chomer, judging from the light to the heavier item, This is the way it goes. Oma avonim she'enan roos v'lo shamaos v'lo medabros al yidei shematilos shalom. So just like avonim, the avonim of the mizbeach, they can't see, they cannot hear, and they can't talk. Al yidei shematilos shalom, since they are made to bring peace between the Bnei Yisrael, between men and Hashem. Shematila Shalom Amrim Torah. The Torah says, "Lo sanif aleim barzel." You shouldn't hew it with bronze, with a bronze tool. Hamatil Shalom ben ish leishto. Ben mishpacha lemishpacha, ben adam lechaveru, something, hamatil shalom, that does, somebody that does bring shalom, peace, ben ish leishto, between a man and his wife, ben mishpacha lemishpacha, between different mishpachas, between different families. Ben ish lechaveru, between a man and his friends. Alachas kama v'kama, shelo tzivohu perennius. So then a person that does go and works too, bring shalom, bring peace between a man and his wife, between two mishpachos, between two families, ben adam lechaveru, between two people, between a man and his friends. Alachas kama v'kama shelo tzivohu perennius. So for sure, a person that is feeling and he can do all these things, he can intelligently do these things. So then, for sure, that he should not be harmed. He or she, if she is doing something to bring shalom, bein ish leishto. V'lo saleh b'ma'alos. One shouldn't go up b'malos in steps. In other words, there's a I think there's like a ramp, but there's a ramp that goes up. Lo saleh b'malos al mizbechi asher lo sigol erbascha olav, that you shouldn't reveal your nakedness on the in other words, you go up with a ramp. More tzniistic way. So anyway, this is the beginning. This is the end of Yisro. So we see here that Yisro is talking about the Mizbeach. And then right afterwards we have Mispatim. Mispatim. So in other words, Mispatim is talking about before we were talking about Mizbeach. That's where we finish off the Parsha of Yisro. And now we begin the Parsha of Mishpatim. So, and it says V'ela, the end. These are the Mishpatim. These are the Mishpatim, the judgments that one should do. So in other words, why are they close together? Just because one shouldn't put up a new dayan because of monetary concerns. In other words, one shouldn't be paid to bring a dayan. To having a dayan is a very important thing, and a dayan has to take his responsibilities very seriously. He has to feel as if he has to do this judgment. He has to feel as if there's a sword on his neck. In other words, he has to make sure to do the right thing. So that's why It says it's right next to the last parsha. So this here is an interesting new. Here, not new. It's an older Chumash, and it's interesting. Shemos. So it's an interesting. It's got a lot of Perushim from Lemberg, and it's from. Tells you where it's from, when it's from Lemberg, and the date also, and here, Sefer Shemos, Shemosness tells us all about it. Okay, so here we go. Thank you very much. Kol Tov. Things should become good, and everything. So sein gesund. Take care.